There was a man named Ben. He was 23, young, smiling in photos, dressed sharp, and obese. Not the obese person who turns heads in a room, the kind that hides under buttoned shirts, under the "you carry it well" compliments, under the radar. He had no idea his body fat was 34%, that his liver was inflamed, or that his high blood sugar would eventually catch up with him. But it did, fast. By 24, he had erectile dysfunction. By 25, he was on the edge of diabetes. And by 26, he had tried everything. Low fat, low carb, no carb, gym memberships, green juices, calorie counting, you name it. Nothing worked, because no one told him the truth. The truth is that most weight loss advice doesn't work after the age of 40, and for many, it stops working even earlier. Why? Because it's not about calories. It's not about how many hours you sweat in the gym. It's about how your metabolism responds to the food you eat, how your hormones shift as you age, and how your body fights to hold on to fat, even when you're doing everything right. So today, I'm going to show you what actually works. Not a gimmick, not a pill, but a decisive shift in how you eat, move, and measure success. Let's start with the first step: why most weight loss advice fails after 40, and what to do instead. The turning point: why most weight loss advice fails after 40. Let me tell you something I hear almost every week. Doc, I'm doing everything right. I eat less, I exercise more, but the weight just won't come off. In fact, I feel more tired than ever. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Especially if you're over 40. The truth is, what used to work in your 20s or even early 30s, like cutting calories, skipping meals, or spending hours on a treadmill, starts to backfire. Not because you're lazy or broken, but because your body, your hormones, and your metabolism have changed, and no one gave you the manual. Take Ben, for example. At 23, he was 250 pounds and, on the outside, looked fine. But inside, he was battling high blood sugar, inflammation, and the early stages of insulin resistance. He followed all the typical advice: low-fat everything, endless cardio, calorie counting. But the more he restricted, the more his body resisted. His energy crashed, his cravings skyrocketed, and his health got worse, not better. What Ben didn't know then, and what most people still don't realize, is this: weight loss after 40 is no longer about cutting. It's about correcting. And correcting years of blood sugar spikes, hormone imbalances, and metabolic stress. You see, as we age, our muscle mass naturally declines, our insulin sensitivity drops, and stress hormones like cortisol go up, all of which make fat loss harder, especially around the belly. So when you follow outdated advice like eat less and move more, you might actually be fueling the very problems you're trying to fix. Here's the hard truth. If you're over 40 and still trying to lose weight by starving yourself or running endless miles, you're not just wasting time, you're working against your biology. But here's the good news. Once you stop punishing your body and start listening to it, feeding it what it actually needs, everything changes. That's exactly what Ben did. He didn't double down on restriction, he made one radical shift. He started eating more fat. And that's what we're going to unpack next. Let's dive into the science behind eating fat to burn fat.
Eat more fat to burn more fat. The science that saved my life.
This is where everything changed for Ben. After years of fearing fat, buying low-fat yogurt, fat-free salad dressings, and avoiding eggs like they were poison, he made a decision that went against everything he was taught. He started eating more fat. Not just any fat, but the right kind of fat. The kind that doesn't inflame the body, but nourishes it. Within weeks, his energy came back. His cravings vanished. And the weight? It started falling off, not from starvation, but from metabolic freedom. Here's what most people still don't know. Fat doesn't make you fat. Insulin does. And nothing spikes insulin more than refined carbohydrates and sugar. Fat, on the other hand, barely raises insulin at all. That's why when Ben shifted to eating healthy fats, such as wild-caught salmon, grass-fed beef, pasture-raised eggs, half an avocado a day, and a spoonful of extra virgin olive oil, he wasn't feeding fat. He was training his body to burn it. These fats don't just keep you full longer, they stabilize your blood sugar, reduce inflammation, and flip the switch from fat storage to fat burning. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but Doc, doesn't fat have more calories? Yes, gram for gram. However, what matters more is how your body responds to the food you eat. A handful of macadamia nuts with olive oil might be higher in calories than a slice of toast. But that toast will spike your blood sugar, your insulin, and your hunger an hour later. The nuts? They keep you full for hours. That's metabolic efficiency, and it's priceless after the age of 40. One of my patients, Linda, 58, told me she was terrified to eat fat. But once she swapped out her low-fat breakfast for 2 eggs, half an avocado, and a few pecans, she felt full until lunch. And over the next 6 weeks, her belly shrank by 3 inches. No calorie counting, no crash diets. Just real food that works with your body, not against it. And this brings us to the following key, because fat is just one part of the story. To truly unlock your metabolism, you need to rethink how you handle carbs. Let's talk about that next. Rethink movement. How walking after dinner burns fat faster than the gym. Let me ask you this. What if I told you that a 30-minute walk after dinner could do more for your waistline than an hour at the gym? Sounds crazy, right? But for Ben, and for thousands of my patients, this simple habit was a game changer. Here's the truth. After 40, your body doesn't need more punishment. It needs smarter movement. That's why when Ben stopped forcing himself into exhausting workouts and started walking every day, especially after his biggest meal, the fat finally started to melt. Why? Walking after eating helps lower your post-meal blood sugar spike, resulting in lower insulin levels, fewer cravings, and increased fat burning. It's that simple. Think of it like this. When you eat, especially a big dinner, your blood sugar naturally rises. If you sit on the couch afterward, that sugar has nowhere to go, so your body stores it as fat, mainly around the belly. But when you go for a brisk 30-minute walk after eating, your muscles act like a sponge, soaking up that sugar for energy instead of letting it turn into fat. It's like flipping a metabolic switch, and it works, even if you're not breaking a sweat. One of my favorite success stories is Michael, a 62-year-old retired teacher who was convinced he had to join a gym to lose weight. I told him to hold off. Walk 30 minutes after dinner 5 nights a week. In 2 months, he lost 12 pounds without changing a single thing about his diet. No treadmill, no trainer, just his neighborhood and a pair of sneakers. Now, does that mean strength training or cardio is useless? Not at all. But if you're short on time, energy, or motivation, walking after meals is the easiest, most natural way to start burning fat today. And if you're ready to take it a step further, wait until you hear about strategic sprinting, a simple method Ben used just twice a week that skyrocketed his fat loss, boosted his energy, and improved his heart health. I'll show you exactly how it works and how you can do it even if you've never exercised before.
The invisible metrics. Why fat loss isn't about the scale. Here's one of the biggest lies the weight loss industry ever sold us. That your success lives and dies by the number on a bathroom scale. Let me be clear. The scale is a liar. And if you're over 40, that little device can play with your mind more than it benefits your health. Ben learned this the hard way. 3 months into his new routine, eating healthy fats, walking after meals, even sprinting twice a week, he stepped on the scale and saw no change. 0. Same weight. And he was ready to quit. But then he checked his body fat percentage. He had dropped 4% body fat and gained lean muscle. His pants fit better, his energy was steady, his sleep had improved, his afternoon crashes were gone. But if he had only looked at the scale, he would have thought nothing was working. That's why I always tell my patients, fat loss is not the same as weight loss. You're not trying to be lighter, you're trying to be leaner, healthier, and more energized. And to see that kind of change, you need to track the right metrics. Start with body composition. Tools like in-body scans, DEXA scans, or handheld bioimpedance monitors can help estimate your fat-to-muscle ratio. Not perfect, but far better than just weight. Then look at your waist size. Are your clothes loose? Is your belt moving in? That's progress. Next, pay attention to what I call non-scale victories. Are you sleeping better? Do you wake up with more energy? Are your cravings down? Is your digestion smoother? Is your mood more stable? These are the signs your metabolism is healing, even if the scale doesn't budge. One patient, Rebecca, 52, told me she felt like nothing was changing, until her sister pointed out that her face looked slimmer and her skin was glowing. It turns out that Rebecca had dropped 2 dress sizes, but the scale only showed a 3-pound weight loss. That's real change. That's real health. As you move forward, don't let the scale hold you back from making progress. Look beyond the number. Because the truth is, when your metabolism starts working again, the results show up everywhere. And if you want to supercharge that transformation, it all begins with a tiny shift in what's on your plate. Let's talk about that.